Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 48 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And you know what episode 48 means, right?
What's that?
Next episode is 49.
Which means we're coming up quickly on 50, which we'll have some news about that at the end of the episode.
Yes, episode number 50. And I realized when we were planning this, we will usually have a slight diversion from our Irish horror month, but I think that's a worthy reason to kind of deviate from our plan a little bit.
Right, and I believe we have 5 Fridays in March, so it'll actually work out pretty well.
Right, we still get the 4 in, as 4 movies that we had chose. So yeah, so that works out really good. So the calendar, what's the calendar? Basically the calendar
The
Gregorian, all right, see, it's smiling or frowning, depending on how you want to twist it, on Civil Gore, and works out perfectly for us.
We use the Civil Gorian calendar, but...
Yes, the Civil Gorian calendar, which actually, that's what I should rename our file, actually, now that you said that.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, we have a fun show tonight, so let's get right into our first chop. All right, the first bit of news is one that we neglected, sadly, to mention on the last episode, but it's a big one. It is the return of FANGORIA magazine.
Yes, I don't know how, and you know what's funny? We realized it actually, I realized it right after we got off the, once we were done recording, and half of me was thinking of like, should I just jump back on and say something? But then I'm like, oh, and then I got to get Tim, and we got to sign it, so I just kind of made a note, and then still forgot to tell Tim until a few days later when I was listening back to the episode. I said, oh my God, we totally forgot to talk about the return of FANGORIA. I had it in my notes, I had it everywhere, but on the rundown where it needs to be. So we are going to talk about it now. So
yeah, this one is coming back in print form as a quarterly magazine this time, which is fine.
It's only going to cost $0.25? That's awesome.
Well, I don't know how much it's going to cost, but they can shut up and take my money because I'm signing up for it. I'm already on the newsletter. I'm like signed up. I've got an account. I'm ready to go as soon as they say go.
I have to do the same.
Now, I was never a FANGORIA subscriber, even back in my big heavy horror days, but I would pick it up constantly in the bookstore and stuff. I would either I'd thumb through it or I would buy it. So I've always been a fan of the magazine.
Yeah, no, and it's one, being a horror fan, it would always appeal to you as you're going in the magazine racks and you see whatever cover they picked, or and sometimes you just like leaf through it there and like you're like, all right, I gotta buy this one. Even if you didn't buy it regularly, because at times magazines were pretty getting up there in price, and you kind of tend to pick and choose if you really want it, because if you think about it, it's like $5-6 for a magazine. And you could, like, I used to be magazine obsessive, where I would literally probably drop like $100 a month on magazines. It was terrible. Every video game magazine, horror magazine, movie magazine, it was like I had to draw the line somewhere. And this was before they had, Amazon subscriptions and discount ways to get it, and it was definitely before your digital options, of course. So yeah, so it's like, I would sometimes pick and choose on which issues I would get. But yeah, now I think you're right. Like, I'm going to be with you on this one. I'm just going to subscribe. I'm going to make sure I get all four a year. I bet you they're going to do more than that, though. They'll probably do like special
they might do
issues
that.
in there.
Depending on how successful it is, they may increase that. Sometimes that happens.
Right. And they could be thicker, too. They could be thicker issues, because obviously there's going to be a lot of content. You're talking about 3 months worth of horror. Just doing this podcast, how much news we have per week.
Right.
You could do issues on Friday the 13th video game updates alone, as we know.
Yeah.
And so that is something that this year has been, I have to say, leading right from the end of last year, leading into this year, we just get more and more fun news in the world of horror. From in every aspect, from video games, from TV shows, movies, now magazines. We could not have picked a better time to really start this podcast up if you think about it.
Yeah, it's really starting to hit. I mean, horrors are always been popular, at least among horror fans. I mean, it's always been a popular genre, but I think it's really starting to hit that mainstream. And I hesitate to say that it hasn't been mainstream, but it seems like it's mainstream to a new level now. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like when the superhero films became like, and Comic-Con became all mainstream, horror's kind of starting to reach that peak where it's not just the hardcore fans anymore. It's like everybody, even my mom. Case in point, my mom was in Myrtle Beach this weekend. She calls me up. She says, "Tim, I'm at this little store and they have the Funko Pop vinyls. Do you want me to get you Black Panther?" And I said, "No, Mom, thanks. I appreciate it, but unless it's horror, I don't want it. I don't really care about the superhero pop vinyls. I just collect the horror ones." And she goes, "Oh, do you have Pennywise from It?" And I was like, no. And so she picked that up for me. But it's just funny that she even knew who Pennywise was, or that.
Right.
Yeah. That's how. I mean, my mom doesn't watch any kind of scary movie or anything like that, but it had gotten that big that it kind of seeped into the pop culture. So.
Yeah, and this Fangoria, one of the articles I had read, I mean, they're basically saying they get the entire backlog of Fangoria's, all their issues. I think Starlog and Gore Zone archives they get, and they're supposedly under the Fangoria moniker. It's not just this magazine. They're going to do podcasts, horror novels, movies. So this is just not the magazine coming back. This is a lot more. And I noticed they said podcast, so let's see what that's all about.
I would love to see them. How cool would it be for them to do some sort of Marvel Unlimited type subscription where I pay X number a month and I can just read every back issue? How cool would
You know what?
be?
I would not be shocked, because that seems like where these type of things end up. So, hey, you know what? You're on that list already. I see you start emailing them and get that thing ready now.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Say, look, hi, I am Tim, co-host of Civil Gore.
You may have heard
subscriber. Yeah. Say, I'd like to make a suggestion, even though you haven't started yet. I want everything,
I'm very much looking forward to that. The next one I'm actually looking forward to, because I did not download this one, Brian. That is the Friday the 13th killer puzzle game for iOS.
Yeah, I had seen this for a while, and I finally I think Steve Conan sent me something. I'm like, oh, you know what? I forgot. I never downloaded that. It's like one of those things where I read about it, and I'm like, I got to download it, and you get distracted, and you forget easy enough, right? So I finally decided to I was like, you know what? There's no new Friday the 13th video game news in here. I got to fill it with some kind of Friday the 13th thing. So I decided to download it and play it. And it's obviously it's the same little format game, basically, like Slayaway Camp is, which obviously was it's kind of funny that they ended up, the homage that Friday the 13th was given in there basically spawned into its own game now. And, you can unlock all different Jasons. I think you have to pay for the Jasons, but you unlock weapons. And it's neat because they added, they definitely made more Friday the 13th centric by now when you kill the person or people on there, it goes final girl, and then you have to, there's one final person on the map that you have to, the puzzle map, and you have to go kill them, and it goes to a cutscene where you have to actually time it right in there in the kill zone, and you click on it, and it does a nice big splatter graphic, and you can pick actually if you want it R-rated or PG in the beginning, and it's got the licensed sound effects in there, and Jason's mom, Pamela Voorhees is always talking to you through it, so it's just a really fun little game. I was actually playing it a little bit while I was waiting for my stupid slow computer that had to decide to do every single update under the sun. Right before we went on, I decided to play around a little bit. So, yeah, it's definitely a fun game. Definitely recommend it. If you love Slayaway Camp, it's a no-brainer. If you haven't tried Slayaway Camp, then try this even first, and then you got a whole nother game after you're done with this one.
Cool. Well, I started back on the Backlog Project, pretty hardcore this week. And the first one up was Bride of Chucky, which was the 4th entry in the Child's Play series. Now, this one, a lot of people think is one of the weaker entries in the franchise. I'd have to agree from a story perspective, but there's a lot really to love about this one, and mainly it's Jennifer Tilly, because she's phenomenal in this. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's pretty good in whatever she does, really.
Yeah. So I really liked her performance in this one. I think the film suffers from, it doesn't have a very large scope. The bulk of it takes place basically in an RV for all intents and purposes.
Cheap set, I guess.
It's kind of so you don't really have the scope. You don't have a lot of the great Chucky kills, but it does have, in my mind, it has one of the best looking Chuckies in the whole franchise. This is the one where he's kind of all stitched together.
Oh, right.
But
he has to look good for his wedding, right? It's
yeah,
Bride of
but
Chucky,
I love that look for him with the just everything's all stitched and stapled and stuff. I just think it's so super cool. So I really had a good time with it, even though I do tend to agree it's probably one of the weaker entries in the franchise, but it's still not bad. Like, some franchises have bad movies. I don't think there's any Child's Play movie that I don't enjoy on some level.
Yeah. You're gonna finish our like one whole summer vacation all by yourself here.
I know.
Well before it.
I know. It just keeps coming up on the backlog. The next one up I watched was The Crazies, which was the remake of the George Romero original. And let's face it, this is basically a zombie movie. It's not. It's really, it's supposedly like townsfolk have gone crazy. It's not strictly zombies as in undead.
Zombie-ish.
It's zombie-ish, yeah.
Or zombish. That we'll coin that word. Just zombish.
It stars Timothy Olyphant, which I really liked a lot. I've always liked everything he's in, so that was the one redeeming quality of it.
My favorite one he did was the Elephant Man that he did. It was David Lynch movie. Oh no, wait, that's not the same one. Sorry.
I'm sure he's never heard that one, Brian.
Right, I know. Well, you know what? It's funny. There's so many times when he'll walk in somewhere and they say, well, speaking of the elephant in the room, okay, that's enough.
But anyway,
there's any chance of getting him on the show. Okay.
I've never seen the original. I'm sorry to say, but this one it's just a perfect example of that kind of. I don't know if it was PG-13 or R. It's probably R, but it feels PG-13 to me. It just feels kind of average, and there wasn't. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just there. So, yeah, could have been worse, but Timothy Olyphant was the saving grace.
See, if you want to get rid of it, though, it's perfect around the holiday times. If you do one of those white elephant parties, at the gift exchanges. I don't know. Okay. You didn't think.
I'm trying to think of something with pachyderm in it, but I couldn't. I couldn't on the fly.
That's okay. I just done more than my share already.
Yeah,
I haven't been thrown off the show in a while, so you gotta.
And the last one on my backlog project list was Phantasm IV: Oblivion. So I'm gonna ruin another Slaycation franchise.
Oh my God! Look at you go. Yeah, well, that one wasn't slated for this summer.
This one's we got a while on. So Phantasm,
you have to watch them again anyway.
Phantasm IV is an interesting film. So the first one laid the groundwork for how weird Phantasm is. The second one was kind of a cool follow-up because it was like a direct sequel, and it kind of started establishing the monster battle dynamic of Reggie and Mike. So it was kind of cool in that sense. And then part 3 was like totally crazy, fun road trip adventure, blah, 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 blah. 4 dials all that back, and 4 basically kind of goes more into the history of the Tall Man, the lore. It's much slower paced. It's a lot more confusing. The plot goes everywhere. So I can understand why people may have not liked this entry as much, especially coming after 3, which was like, it felt like the franchise was just getting better and better and better. And then 4 feels like a little bit of a step back, a slower paced. I did appreciate the lore behind the Tall Man. You get to see some background and history, which was kind of cool to see. And the other neat thing they did was they used unused footage from Phantasm to do all these cool little flashback scenes, so that you see cool. The older Mike, kind of looking back on the younger Mike, and the older Reggie looking back on the younger Reggie, and he seamlessly kind of inserts all this old footage in to kind of tie the films together. And I thought that was a cool aspect of it. I would have to watch this one again to really judge where I would rank it in the series, and I still haven't watched Ravager, which is the final one. So I'm hesitant to judge it too harshly right now. I will say this Phantasm box set has been spectacular. I've enjoyed every single movie in it. There has not been any letdowns whatsoever, and I can't wait to start going on into the commentaries.
Yeah, and that was a great set, and it was at such a great price point. That was a no-brainer, I think. Even if you're new to the series, it's a good way to get the whole series. Because as we found out, like we were just talking actually before the show, we were trying to, we were talking about our upcoming summer slaycation. How we're going to do Hellraiser, and now just trying to piece all those films together. There's no definitive box set right now. I think you can get a box set of the first 3, and then you can get a box set of the other ones, and then I think the newest one is all by itself. And so I think so that's what's so great about this set, is it gives you all of it in one shot.
Yeah, I've rambled on long enough, Brian, so I'm gonna let you talk about The Ritual.
Oh, yeah. So, as Tim said, he had heard how great this movie was. And so, and I had planned to see it before but I remember I got sidetracked, thanks to Tim again, by Kuso and the Greasy Strangler.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Which you still got to watch, A Greasy Strangler, if you didn't watch it yet. But so anyway, so I got to watch that, and wow, it lived up to the hype. It did not disappoint. I loved every second of this, and I actually think out of the last couple of years, it's definitely up there as one of my favorite horror films that I've seen. I just thought, it was they showed you just enough effects to it. The build-up was great. The characters were great. It was just really, really a fun and just spectacular horror movie, and it had some legit creepy moments in that too. And and it's on Netflix, so who doesn't have Netflix nowadays? There's no reason not to watch this thing as soon as you can.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great movie. You should definitely check it out if you're a Netflix subscriber. Speaking of Netflix, I watched one from there, and that was Creep 2. Did you ever see the original Creep, Brian?
I don't think so. I was trying to remember when I saw you watch Creep 2, and I can't remember if I did or not.
This is the one with Mark Duplass, and it's a...
Oh, right. No, I did not see that. I wanted to see it, but I did not see it.
Oh,
That's
man,
right.
Yeah. It's amazing what these two films do with basically 2 actors and a video camera, because that's essentially what these films are. And for most of the time, Mark Duplass is the only guy on the screen. So you ask, how could you make a frightening horror movie, which basically is one guy the entire time? It's a one-man show. It's incredible what they do with such a minimalist budget and shooting style. But I don't want to give too much away since you haven't seen the first one.
Yeah.
It's a
Don't ruin it, Tim.
No, I won't ruin it. It's a very worthy sequel, let me say. I still prefer the first one more, only because the surprise and the format was new. So in that terms, it was a little more entertaining because I'd never seen it before. Because the sequel follows very closely to the formula, but it's still really, really good. And Mark Duplass does a phenomenal job of being the creep. So yeah, if you haven't watched these, especially, man, if you want to do a double feature night, I can't think of anything better than watch these two back to back. It's a really, really amazing film for the budget. And I mean, it blows my mind what they did and how they incorporated scares into something which, by any stretch of the imagination, should not be scary whatsoever.
We'll have to, maybe that might be a good future show. We do 1 and 2 for that, because I can't see that being a franchise, right? It doesn't lend itself to that.
I don't
right?
think it would be a franchise, but I'm really glad they did a sequel. I would have never dreamed they would have tried to do a sequel to this, and somehow it all worked. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to do definitely do 1 and 2 then, maybe in a future episode.
Right. Yep. And then we had some kind of shocking news about Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I as I tend to do when I wake up in the morning, I'll go out. I'm starting to get ready to go to work. I'll usually pop on the phone, see what's going on, and I think it was. Did I see? Oh no, I think it was through Instagram. I saw the picture of him with the tubes in his nose, and he wrote hey guys, I had a heart attack, and I read more about it, and I'm like, said, oh my God, it's obviously, thank God he is okay. He was saying how it was, I guess, that widowmaker artery, they call it. They nicknamed it because usually once that's clogged, that's it. And he wasn't feeling good, and I guess he was sick, and he threw up, and he really was not feeling well. And they told him to go to the hospital, and thank God they did. His friends took him to the hospital because that probably saved his life. So, and anyone that knows film knows Kevin Smith, and I got to meet him briefly once, and he did it was a film festival, and he was showing Dogma and what was the other one he showed? I'm not sure. I think it was Dogma and maybe Chasing Amy. I think it was like a double feature. But anyway, I had not seen Dogma at the time too, and it was kind of funny because he started. There's never anyone that, and it's coming from me, who what I always say talks more about film because, and you could just tell his genuine love for film in general, films that he does. Filmmakers that he loves, and he's just like the ultimate fan too, which is great. And it's like infectious, and so he was talking about movies, and he basically said, he goes, guys, he goes, unfortunately I'm under contract here, I have to show Dogma, but if anyone wants to just I'm so excited, I just want to talk about films, anyone wants to go, we're gonna go next door. And he literally just hung out and talk movie with people that didn't want to see, that had already seen Dogma or just wanted to talk about it. And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's so cool. And, he's a huge Star Wars fan and comic book fan. And he's like, all his success that he's had, still he stays the most down-to-earth guy. Like, you see him on his show, Comic Book Man. He does his podcasts. He does his video kit. I mean, you just can't, you can't not like the guy. He's awesome. And so when I heard this, I was so... relieved that he was okay, but too so devastated because I'm like, oh my God, what an influence, like, just to my filmdom and fandom, love and stuff. So I was like, if he would, if something would have happened to him, I would have been pretty devastated. So I'm glad he's okay, and we obviously wish him the best and a speedy recovery because I want to see what he does next. And I know he's not big really in the horror world per se, but he's done Tusk and Yoga Hosers, kind of like a horror comedy a little bit. And so, I think he has a third one in that series coming out, in that Canadian series he's doing. And so looking forward to that. So yeah, get well soon, Kevin, because we want you back making movies soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, we got a pretty big dismemberment this week, so let's get right into that.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't cut off my...
Okay, these are the Blu-ray releases for March 6th, 2018. And we're starting it off with a bang. We've got an AKA right out of the gate.
And that's why I made it my pick of the week, by the way, just because it's the AKA, and I haven't really seen any other ones. Well, it's Strangers, but that's just a re-release.
Oh, so you're taking a chance on the pick of the week. You're just going blind.
I am. I'm going by the AKA thing. But plus, look, it's got Mondo Macabro. It's got Paul Naschy. It's not like I'm just like throwing it out there because of the AKA. I did balance it out with some of the other facts of it.
All right, so here we go. This one is El Comandante, a.k.a. The Devil Incarnate. 1979, Mondo Macabro, directed by Paul Naschy under a pseudonym.
Oh, he didn't go by Paul Naschy?
An alias. No, he did not go by Paul Naschy. I don't remember. I didn't bother with the alias he used. But,
did he go Paul Not So Nice?
No.
Did he go
it was something completely different. And I don't know why. I don't know if this was... I don't know. This is a later film for him because the ones I have in the Paul Naschy collection are all early 70s. So I don't know why he was going under a pseudonym. But stars Paul Naschy, Sarah Lozana, and David Rocha. The devil, following in the footsteps of Christ, decides to become flesh and take a stroll around Earth to see how humans have progressed.
Just take a stroll around Earth. I was like, oh, hello, humans. How are you today?
Top of the morning to you. Yeah. And have a little fun creating havoc and mayhem in the process.
This sounds like Little Nicky.
I love that's what I love about the Paul Naschy films. Like, they all have a great story hook. Every single one I've seen so far has this great little story hook. This one has a 4K restoration. No expense spared. And audio commentary and interviews.
Maybe this set is enough to make Paul Naschy put his name back on it.
I haven't looked if this one's in the second Paul Naschy set or not. I don't know.
The Devil Incarnate does sound familiar. Maybe the El Caminante wasn't. Maybe they only listed as one of them. Because sometimes these AKA ones, it's it's because of a release in the other country or a previous release name. So
Yep, nope, it is not. So I might have to pick this one up just to
Oh.
Round out my Paul Naschy collection. So.
you're gonna have like a bonus Paul
That's
Naschy.
right,
So
yeah.
now now that's like you're halfway to like Paul Naschy 3, you know, in 3D.
Better than Paul Blart 2, but
Right. Yeah, any Paul Naschy is better than Paul Blart too.
the next one up is obvious. It's getting a re-release because we're about to get the sequel, and that is The
Yes.
Strangers from 2008. It's being released in a collector's edition by Scream Factory, directed by
Oh, so it is a new edition.
It's a new edition,
It's a newer
yeah.
edition. Okay,
Yeah.
so it could have been pick of the week, but I tend to not like to do pick of the weeks for re-releases unless it's like a really just like epic movie that's getting the full Scream Factory treatment. I mean, this was a good movie, but I don't know if it's worthy of a pick of the week for just that. And look at this, 2K. Even Paul Naschy's going 4K, and these guys are
Yeah, well,
2K less.
I do like this movie. I can't wait to see the sequel, but
No, me too. Yeah, I do. No, I do like it. It's just
yeah. So yeah, it seems kind of a weird choice for a special edition. This one's directed by Brian Bertino, starring Scott Speedman, Liv Tyler, and Gemma Ward.
Yeah, and considering I think the original release had deleted scenes on it, so the new interviews are probably, I guarantee you, it's going to be like, what do you think of the new sequel coming out? Or, hey, remember when you did this?
Yeah, you're right.
To me, those are just, that's not worthy enough of a double dip so far. I mean, look, it's like literally, it's like, I don't know what you're getting new. It's other than the 2K transfer.
You're getting
maybe.
a new
I mean,
interview, Brian.
I knew.
Be happy
interviews,
with it.
yes. It's true. I tell you, but I'll get really annoyed though if I go out and get this, because I think I have it on DVD. Actually, I don't know if I have it on Blu-ray. I have to check. I want to say I might have ended up double dipping getting on Blu-ray at some point, but I'll be really upset if I go out and get this thing and literally there's like one new interview and it's with like Scott Speedman's like hair assistant or something. It's like, yes, his hair was difficult.
Assistant to Miss Tyler.
Yeah, like you never know what these new interviews are, but I don't know.
What?
Nothing against the Strangers.
Like, what
release.
really?
I'm sorry,
Whatever
Scream Factory.
happened to Liv Tyler? Like, she used to be the like hottest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And
Well, what was the last thing she did? That HBO show, right? Was it the Leftovers? No, was that the one?
I don't know. I didn't see it. Whatever it was, because the
Yeah,
last
she
thing
did
I
on. So it was one of those cable shows with sci-fi in it with more. It was.
like this is literally the last thing I ever
forget the
remember
name.
seeing her in, and that's 2008. I was 10.
I think she's been in stuff since then. It's just you're right though. I mean, she used to like. When you would know what she was in, it was like more of definitely her name was around more than it is now, and I did know what happened. I mean, I guess. Well, I mean, she was, after the Lord of the Rings one. Oh, Leftovers. It was Leftovers. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
she was in
Leftovers. Okay.
So that ended in 2017. So I guess that's she was in there. It's just I guess if you didn't watch the series,
Yeah,
and that
okay.
probably was time consuming.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you before that though, she was like really sparingly used. It seems like. I mean, she was in the Hulk, Incredible
but
Hulk.
she's still more out there than Alicia Silverstone.
Yes, I don't know what happened to. Yeah, she's definitely disappeared. Oh, and she does have a movie coming out called The Wildling, which is coming out. Which actually she's the star of it, the main star. It says a blossoming teenager uncovers a dark secret behind her traumatic childhood. Coming out this year, April 13th. So okay, so she's back. She's coming back for you, Tim.
All right. Okay. The next one up, I swear to God, this disc has been on every Blu-ray release week since like last year.
It has, hasn't it?
It's
Because
been-
I've seen it myself. Yeah.
I finally decided I'm just going to put it back on there again in the hopes of banishing it forever. So
Maybe,
we've
yeah,
probably
maybe this'll
covered
do
this
it.
6 months ago because I swear they just keep pushing this disc back. It is the Cat O' Nine Tails. This cat has 9 lives, apparently.
Yeah, it's got 9 dismemberment appearances.
The Cat O' Nine Tails, 1971. This is the Arrow release, directed by Michele Soavi, starring James Franciscus, which is the Italian version of James Franco.
I know. I was gonna say, is that like James Franco, like when he was hot, trying to? 71, I guess not. But wouldn't it be funny if that was like his version, like his pseudonym, like somewhere else, like
Yeah.
like when he did those kind of like Italian films, he'd be like, I am James Franciscus.
He probably was not even born in 1971. I'm like,
Yeah, he
assuming.
probably wasn't. Yeah, because I wasn't even born in 71, so he's younger than me. So
Carl Malden and Catherine Spaak. That's how it's spelled, Spaak. So I just say Spaak.
I know that extra A, Spack. It's like Affleck. It's like Catherine Smack.
We're going to go to hell for making fun of people's names at some point.
Yeah, and watch her now become she's going to go into civil gore lore or civil lore, as I say.
Lore.
Sorry, Aaron Menke, don't sue us. I realized I forgot lore is actually a podcast. Just realized that, yeah. But this is civil lore. Yours is just lore.
Ours is a lot more civilized.
Yes. Yeah. Not that we're saying he's uncivilized, but we're just more civilized.
All right, a newspaper.
We use more right guard.
Now
Now I said the poor guy smells. Okay, let's just get out of this before we insult everybody.
A newspaper reporter and a retired blind journalist, which makes it hell on reading newspapers, I swear.
Really? Yeah.
A newspaper
Can't even read his own stuff.
A newspaper reporter and a retired blind journalist try to solve a series of killings connected to a pharmaceutical company's experimental top secret research project, and in so doing, both become targets of the killer. This sounds more like a thriller to me, but...
Yeah, this is, I have to say, Shudder does this a lot too. As much as we love Shudder, we haven't mentioned them in a while, but I have to say, Shudder does this too. And even, actually, I shouldn't even say Shudder. Amazon does it also. They have thrillers under the horror moniker, and I get it, because there's a fine line, but there's also a blurred line, so it could have a little of both. So where do you classify?
Yeah.
That's why I stopped literally trying to classify. At one point I literally tried to classify my Blu-rays and DVDs by genre, and you'll go crazy trying to do that.
Yeah,
because one person looks at it one way, one looks at the other way. IMDb, just whatever mood they're in, picks it. And so so you can't find it, but right, by this description, I guess the word killings in it put it into horror, but this to me sounds more a thriller.
I had to pick a standard, so I just go by the IMDb. If it has the horror keyword, I use it. I consider it horror.
That works for us. That works
because
for
you
me
have to
too,
pick something. Yeah. I know it's not 100% accurate, but you have to pick some standard and just stick to it. That's what I do.
Right. Well, the way I look at it, it's funny when sometimes people will say "Oh, that's not a horror," because it's not like because they think it has to be like a murder or something. Like I think what was it? I think it was Jaws. Someone actually told me, they said, "Well, is Jaws really horror?" And I said, "Of course it is." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, what if there was a guy going out and hunting and killing people, and then they go out to kill them, would you consider that horror?" And they said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, there's a shark instead of the person. It's just, it's horror." I've seen, great. Could you classify it as a thing? Sure, but that's sometimes what makes a good horror film, is if it can't fit into those other genres, it's a more power to it, I say. But so this is a debate that will never, I don't think, ever get a full resolution, because someone will always see it differently. But I like your system. If it says horror on IMDb, we go.
That's what we go with. Sort of like the RCDB roller coaster database. If it's in there, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. Especially since you and I are so dedicated to staying on topic always.
That's right.
For a horror podcast.
All right, now the next one is my pick of the week number 1. I cheated and did 2 picks of the week.
You did, so you don't get one next week.
No, I used up my quota.
You only get 52 a year. Well, no, we don't even do 52 episodes.
You know how I love my Hammer films.
You do.
And the hammer struck twice. It's hammer time. It's double hammer this week.
Wait, stop. Hammer time. Okay.
It's quadruple hammer, by the way.
It is.
So you're getting 2 Hammer film double features. Now, I will say these aren't as beloved as my current 2 Hammer double features, which are definitely strictly horror. These kind of may fall more in that thriller category, but I put them in there anyway, because any Hammer film is a good horror film, in my opinion. And the first one up is Hammer Films double feature, Never Take Candy from a Stranger, which is the American title. I thought the British version was so cute. The actual title is Never Take Sweets from a Stranger.
No, they did it.
Never take sweets from a stranger. I thought it was delightful.
Never take lollies from a weird man. It's like,
I just thought that was so precious. All right, and then so the first one was Never Take Candy from a Stranger. The second one is Scream of Fear, which sounds like a horror comic from the EC Horror Comics. Scream of Fear.
It does. Considering most screams are usually some sort of out of fear.
So we'll take these one at a time. Never Take Sweets from a Stranger, 1960, Mill Creek Entertainment. This was directed by Cyril Frankel, starring Gwen Watford, Patrick Allen, and Felix Aylmer. Peter Carter, not to be confused with Peter Parker. Peter
I
Carter
know, I was going to say. Is that
meets official resistance when he finds his 9-year-old daughter has been the victim of the pedophile patriarch of the town's most powerful family.
Wow, they had... I didn't realize they did stories like that back then.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's
creepy.
1960.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And then the second one is Scream of Fear, directed by Seth Holt, starring Susan Strasberg and Todd.
From the Manitou.
Yeah, and Todd and Ronald Lewis. A wheelchair-bound young woman returns to her father's estate after 10 years, and although she's told he's away, she keeps seeing his dead body on the estate. Now, that one sounds a little more interesting to me.
Yeah, that I could see. There's a big horror thing. So let me ask you, does Susan Strasberg, poor Susan Strasberg, does she go topless and shoot lasers in this one?
I can only hope so.
Yes, because that'd be a good way to get rid of the dead body that keep peering on the guy's lawn.
If you're hopelessly confused, go back and listen to episode 2 of our podcast where we did the Manitou.
Sorry.
It's still one of our best
or just
episodes.
see the Manitou.
Yeah, it's still one of our best
Either
episodes, in my opinion.
Oh, you know what? I actually missed that movie. I'm kind of mad I never bought like that. Like I saw that like bootleg version of it. I should have just bought it.
I need to pick up the novelization, the sequel, because it's out now.
Oh, right.
It's
Are there
out.
like 5 you said? or
Yeah,
something?
the next one, the other ones in the series are out now, so I need to go pick those up.
That's right. And we still have to do our Kickstarter Manitou where it shows him like the guy with the 2 fingers, like the Ghostbusters. Like we need to do that. Yeah.
All right.
Or Manitou Fast, Too Furious. I don't know, one or the other.
Oh my gosh. The next one up is Hammer Films double feature, Maniac and Die My Darling.
That's a really known one, right? The Die My Darling.
That
I
one
remember
I've heard
that
of
one.
before. The first one,
And that Maniac's not the one, that famous, the slasher one, obviously, right?
no. I'll tell you about this one. This one's
Okay.
So this Maniac is directed by Michael Carreras, and it's starring Kerwin Matthews, Nadia Gray, and Donald Houston. An American painter has an affair with a bar owner in a French village and agrees to help her murderer husband escape from a prison for the criminally insane. So that's interesting.
Okay. That sounds like a Hitchcock plot, doesn't
And,
it?
like I said, these sound more thrillery to me, but I'm still
Yeah.
interested in them. I'm intrigued. And then
That's Hammer. Yeah, you gotta give it a chance.
Die My Darling, 1963. A young woman is terrorized by her deceased fiance's demented mother, who blames her for her son's death. This one stars Tallulah Bankhead, which is a great name, and Stephanie Powers, and directed by Silvio Navazzano.
You forgot Peter Vaughan.
Oh.
He's starring in it. I see him on the rundown. I mean, maybe he's not really in it, but you put him there.
Oh yeah, I did forget Peter Vaughan. He was hidden.
Yeah, he
poor Peter.
He snuck out. Yeah,
If it was Peter Bark, I wouldn't have forgotten him though.
No, you cannot forget Peter Bark. What's he up to nowadays? Mama.
So those are my 2 picks of the week. I will be picking those up because I love my Hammer horror.
Yes.
The next one up is Fangs of the Living Dead, 1969. I give it props for the title alone. This one is a Shout Factory release, directed by Amanda Di Osorio, starring Anita Ekberg, Gianni Medici, and Diana Loris.
And no synopsis.
No synopsis. I couldn't find anything about this movie. But it does have a new audio commentary, a trailer, and an alternate ending. If you know anything about this movie, let me know. But
maybe. I mean, I could assume this, and there's some sort of zombish element in it. Now that we've coined that word, we can use it right away.
It might be zombie vampires.
You know,
for
with
all
the
I know.
living.
Fangs of the Living Dead.
It could be. Or maybe it's just their fangs walking around. I don't know.
Now, this next one.
Is the sequel Fangs of New York? Or is that something else?
No, it's Fangs for the Memories.
Oh, God. Oh, we are on a roll tonight.
The next one up.
Another double feature.
Another
Oh my
double
God.
feature. The second one had the most AKAs I've ever seen for any title. I didn't even list them. Like, there was 6 of them. But, so this one is like a drive-in double feature disc. And the first one is House on the Edge of the Park. And the second one is Last House on Massacre Street. Almost nobody knows it by that name. The name under IMDb is called The Bride, but it has like 6 titles. But
that's not Sting's The Bride,
yeah,
right? Or whatever. It's a different one, right?
This is a weird double feature. So, House on the Edge of the Park is from 1980. This is a Code Red release. So this one was directed by Ruggero Deodato. That's fun to say, but I don't.
You just enunciated it so well.
You're
like Diodato.
Stars.
It's like Mr. Faloberto. Okay, yeah.
Domo arigato, Dio Diato.
Yeah, that's it. Mr. Diodato.
Stars David Hess, Annie Bell, and Christian Borromeo. Borromeo.
This dismemberment was just like made for you today, wasn't it?
Two low-life punks invite themselves to a party at a posh villa, and after being taunted by their snobbish host, hold everyone hostage and subject them to various forms of torture and mayhem.
But why would you know what though?
Good for those low-life
maybe
punks.
they deserved a little bit.
That's
you know,
right.
these snobbish hosts. What do they? They just
Snobbish.
because they invited themselves to the party. Maybe they brought food. Did they even ask?
I don't know. Why?
Sometimes punks make good Jello molds. What do you know? I once went to a punk party back in the day, and there was a delightful ambrosia there on the table. So
I knew a punk who made a delightful chicken casserole.
Yeah.
All right. The next one up is, oh my god, I forgot what title. House on Massacre Street, aka The Bride. This one is directed by Jean-Marie Palissy, Robin Strasser, John Beale, Arthur Roberts in a movie about the neurotic and newlywed Barbara, who finds her husband in bed with his old flame Eva. Robin doesn't get mad. She gets even. Using funds supplied by her wealthy daddy, John Beale, the scorned bride turns Roberts and Saraceni's love nest into a dungeon of horror.
I love how the actual that one like the John Beale's like name got right into the synopsis there.
Yeah.
It's like wealthy daddy John Beale.
Like in
sounds like a weird. Doesn't it sound like a weird like a wrestling valet?
Yeah.
Like when they enter the wrestler and it's like accompanied by wealthy daddy John Beale.
He's like throwing $100 bills around.
Yeah, like it's like the $1 Million Man's like friend or something.
Speaking of which, we're going to wrestling in a couple of weeks. I'm taking the.
Oh, you guys go to those cool like gym shows, right?
Yeah, like we go to like the ones at the Armory, like the real cheesy, like real amateur wrestling, but it's fake. But it's like they try to make it like WWE or something. But yeah, I'm taking.
Those are fun though.
They're a blast. I've had me and Kevin go to them every time they come to the Armory, and we go all in. We go boo for the villain and yay for the hero. And
that's the whole point.
Yeah,
it's
fun.
Like I never get the people that like they watch this. It's just fake. Why are you even getting excited?
Of course,
I'm like,
it's
well, do you
fake.
cheer at a movie? Do you cheer at movies?
It's
sometimes? Of course you
interactive
do.
theater, and it's a blast.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the kids.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm taking the
Yeah.
kids for the first time because I remember my granddad used to take us to see wrestling, and we had so much fun, and I just remember those memories. And so I wanted to take the kids this time and let them see
that'll
what
be
it's all
awesome.
about. I think it'll be fun.
You should definitely share some pics.
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
if they let
definitely
you
will.
take them.
And there's a guy there that's horror themed. It's tied back into horror.
There you go.
One of the wrestlers is Papa Stro, and so he's got this real gothic makeup, and he carries this like evil baby doll on a stick.
Oh, nice. That's
He was
awesome.
actually at the comic book convention I went to in Charlotte last year, so I got to meet him. But we've seen him a couple times here at the here locally, so that was pretty cool. Theatrical releases this week. I neglected to mention it's not strictly horror, but the more I've read about it, and I don't want to read too much about it, it does have some horror elements, and that is Annihilation with Natalie Portman and Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh, right,
I
right.
really wanna
And I get it
that one
confused
came
with
out-
that other one, like Extinction, that was coming out that got pushed to Netflix only.
Yeah, but this one came out last week, so it's not really a theatrical release for this week, but I neglected to mention it because it's not. It's still considered like sci-fi, drama, fantasy, blah blah blah. So I didn't mention it, but I think it does have some horror elements. I do really want to go see this one next weekend. So when we get a date night.
There you go. I know I gotta go next. Our next date night because we need to go see Black Panther again because Julie didn't get to see it because I went with my brother with Seth. It was his birthday, so we went. And Julie had to work the next morning, and we had a late show. So figured we'd just go. I wanted to see it again anyway, so it's not a problem. Obviously, you know me. If I see like a movie, I have no problem seeing it multiple times in the theater.
Yeah. So our feature film this week is A Dark Song. This one is on Netflix. It's officially came out in 2016. I don't believe the U.S. release was until 2017, which that's when I saw it. Was last year.
Yeah, because I saw 2 years for it. I think in my research. And
It took a year to get over here. So, but this was one of my favorites from last year. And I'm very curious to see what Brian thinks of it, if he liked it as much as I did. It's directed by Liam Gavin. It stars Steve Oram, Catherine Walker, and Susan Lonane?
Yeah.
Synopsis,
guess, yeah.
A determined young woman and a damaged occultist risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want. So, this is a very interesting movie, and I can explain why I liked it. But first, I want to hear Brian's impressions.
Well, I definitely liked it. I will say the first... So I had to watch it twice to know, and this is not in any kind of reasoning because of the movie, but I decided I was going to try and watch it because, you know how I usually say, I usually watch our Civil Gore movie Saturday morning. However, Julie was off of work, so we were going to go do like a brunch and do a couple of errands on Saturday morning. So I said, you know what, I'm going to watch it. I'll watch it Friday night. But I didn't start watching it till like 11:30 after a really long week of work, which was not the smart thing because this movie is, you kind of need to like it, you know, it's got a lot going on, you know, to really catch all the things that's going on. And also that one guy's accent was very thick at parts.
Yeah.
So I found myself trying to really like concentrate to see what he said. But so I will admit I kind of dozed off. So I decided to watch it fresh again the next day. And I definitely enjoyed it. I was, you know, it was funny because while I was going through it, I kept expecting, you know what, that's the thing is, I don't think I knew what I was expecting. At first, I just assumed this ritual was going to be, you know, you're not to go into I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but, you know, they're building this up, and I think I thought there was going to be a lot more revealed within the build-up, and it didn't, which is not a knock on this, because I actually appreciated that they kind of flipped that from what movies tend to do. So I definitely liked it. I love the performances in it. I thought, well, Steve Oram, anytime he's in there, he's fine. He plays the father in that the effing End of the World series on Netflix, which he's great in. And Catherine Walker, I don't know much about her, but she was something about her. She just like captured the screen. She was really dynamic in this. You know, it's like she had a lot of emotion going on through it, obviously based on the plot that's going on here. And she was pretty riveting to watch. So I think just the performances alone could capture you into this movie, and I thought that's what was so good about it, and why it just, you know, it kept you really intrigued to what was going on. So I mean, you know, and obviously it's hard to like talk about some of the things I liked a lot without it, you know, kind of giving stuff away. But overall, I did like it, and I thought the you know, I don't know, would you call it a twist at the end? I mean,
not.
It's a minor twist.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like six.
Not like M. Night Shyamalan.
No. It definitely goes in maybe a different direction than you would think,
right.
But in some ways it doesn't. So it's hard to call it a real twist.
Right, because there's hints of the way how it might turn at that point, I guess. But you know, that's why, like I said, like, you know, like I'm very hesitant to call it a twist, but like the different direction. But you know, I think what it decides to go through definitely pays off in the end. And I mean, the you know, just the visuals of it is, you know, it's very dark through a lot of the scenes, which is really cool. And just it's hard to explain without giving specific details, but overall I thought it was really good.
Yeah, so let's go a little bit more into that. Synopsis was a little short. So basically you have this young woman, and the movie just starts straight out. She's wanting to, and I'm not even going to give away the reason she's wanting to do all this, because I think it's,
well, that's a point that you don't find that. Yeah, that's part of the plot.
Yeah,
I
think that's better left unsaid. But
right.
Anyway, she wants to do a magical ritual. She finds this occultist that she wants him to assist her in doing this ritual. And the thing I loved about this movie the most is because it depicts magic in a quote-unquote realistic way. So if you think about it, the different ways magic is depicted in movies and books and television, and most of the time it's wizards and sorcerers and spells just work and blah, 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 blah. Or witchcraft, you know, they do something like in Buffy or something, and they maybe have to do some kind of light ritual or some little bit of voodoo and
like Expecto Patronum.
Yeah, and everything magically works.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I used to, let's get this straight, I never believed that magic actually was real and that you could do spells and stuff. But I loved the thought of it because I was reading a lot of Lovecraft at the time. And I loved and I was playing a lot of D&D, so I love the idea of spells and spell components and things like that. And so, like, I had a copy of the Necronomicon, the published Necronomicon that you could buy in like Barnes and Noble,
like the autographed copy.
Yeah,
of
like the Barnes and Noble Necronomicon, the book of
the
Dark
sticker,
Magic.
20% off.
Exactly, yeah. So I had that. We would and Ken might actually remember some of this because he was probably one of the ones we were messing around with this with. But go off into the woods and read these dark spells and stuff, and try to summon demons and things like that. Never seriously, but you get the idea. So I loved the way this movie depicted magic as something that was real, but that required an enormous amount of sacrifice.
Yeah, because it does drag on.
Yeah.
Like and I don't say that in a bad way, meaning like it's in real time. I think almost as if you were going through what she does. Yeah.
Yeah. Make no mistake, this is a very slow-paced movie,
right?
And I think I liked it better on the second viewing because I knew to expect that pace. And it did not seem as slow-paced on the second viewing. But the first time
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, it did actually, because the night I was tired. You don't watch. You got to go in this movie fresh. Like, I made the mistake of trying to go watch it tired, thinking. And it is, if you're tired, you like in anything, you tend to lose concentration. And this movie really requires your full attention. You don't want to really look away or, just kind of like put your phone down, just kind of, and literally you cannot miss a line because it's every line is almost important in this.
Very deliberately paced. So
that's a good way to say it.
It's very deliberately paced.
Said, yeah.
But I love the way that it depicted magic as if you can imagine in your mind if magic really was real, that it would be so incredibly difficult to do that most people would never even attempt it, especially something so powerful.
Right, and draining. Like, you could see like the physical toll it takes on the characters in this.
Right, yeah, it would take, you could probably, I'm sure there was elements of this borrowed from old books of witchcraft and stuff that went through all this kind of stuff that had these long weeks of preparation and to do this and that. And I loved how this movie depicted that because you don't see that very often depicted in movies.
Right. Well, didn't they say it was like based off the Kabbalah too at some point? It was like
it might have been, yeah.
She used that term. She's like, I read that, and he's like, but he kind of like said something about, don't pay attention to that. He said something to her about it. I just remember them mentioning that, but
yeah, but it was just neat. The horror element in this movie is extremely subtle for the most part. But this is one of those movies that could have just played all its cards at once. And in fact, that's what I expected it to do. But like Brian was saying, it doles out the horror elements so carefully and slowly that it just, I don't know, it kind of gets under your skin after a while. I think this tension just builds and builds.
Right, and it's I think it would explain more once you see it. Like, I mean, we could obviously go into the details and specific examples, but I don't think it would do it the justice to actually then you go in to watch it. It's kind of like a cheat, for you guys, for anyone who hasn't seen it, to hear too much about it first.
Yeah.
And I purposely didn't read I had no clue going in what it was about. Like, I didn't even read the synopsis ahead of time. Just because I was like, all right, let me just go watch it. And that ended up being a plus because I think I was like, if I would have read the synopsis, even though it's a short synopsis, I think I would, tend to be looking for things, I think. And, it's hard enough not to, just because of other horror movies you see and that you're used to expect them anyway. So I think if you know exactly what's going on from the very beginning, because, I think they deliberately try and like not mislead you, but not really let you know everything that's going on. They feed it to you almost as deliberately paced as the movie is. They kind of deliberately pace what you learn in that movie too.
Yeah. Now, one thing I consider the third star of this movie, because there's really primarily only two actors in the movie, essentially.
Right.
But the third star of this movie to me is the soundtrack, which is phenomenal. It's this weird, eerie violin type thing that comes in, and I don't know if you really picked up on it the first time viewing, Brian, but the second time I really picked up on how effective the soundtrack is. Without that soundtrack, I'm not sure the movie would be anywhere near as frightening as it was.
See, most of the time I do pick up on that stuff. This one I have to say I probably have to see it again to watch it because, like I said, the first time I was really tired and I didn't do it. So I only count really seeing it once, even though I kind of watched it. It was kind of my second time, but yeah. So I think I'll definitely watch it again and try and pay attention to that but I know what you mean because I probably subconsciously picked up on it, just not enough to say anything at this point about it. I don't want to do an injustice to it and just say, oh yeah, I kind of heard it. But if I really didn't, it didn't stand out, I should say. But it probably did. I just didn't register it.
Yeah, well, it's to me, it was one of the best examples of a soundtrack enhancing a slow-paced movie since The Witch, which I think was also another example of how effective.
Actually, that's a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, how effective there is a strong comparison to The Witch because it does have that same deliberate slow pacing, and you're either going to like that or you're not. I could certainly understand if you don't like that because it does require a great deal of attention for a great deal of time under a lot of suspense. There's no humor in this movie, just like in The Witch. There's really no humor to balance that tension.
Right.
And for some people, that's just not a fun combo. I tend to like movies like that because they're a little different. They're kind of a little out of the norm of most horror movies these days, which tend to try to inject horror into lighten moods, and they try to do this kind of press the gas pedal down and then let off. Press the gas pedal down, let off.
Yeah, and even when there's the scene when they're talking, the two characters are talking, and he makes a joke about dreaming about owning a moped. Like even that, it's like it's kind of funny, but at that point you're so drawn into the movie that it doesn't give you enough comic relief that you may want at that point.
Right. Yeah. Now I will say I had a little bit of trouble with the third act, and I can't go into. Again, I'm not going to go into much detail because I want the listeners to watch this movie and make their decision. There's some elements, as little as this movie shows, I think there were some elements that they showed a bit too much, maybe. But it was a bold choice, and I could see why they did it. So it's hard to say. It's a double-edged sword. It's one of those things where if you don't show the audience anything, then why all the build-up? But at the same time, if you show too much, all the tension you established up to that point has a risk of being lost.
Right.
I thought the ultimate message of the movie balanced it out enough that I was okay with it. But if I had to change anything about the movie, I think I might have made the horror in the third act a little more subtle.
Yeah, because it does seem to like shift from really being subtle to then kind of like here it is, kind of a little bit. I mean, it wasn't too much that it ruined the movie in any way.
No.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You're right. It probably should have been a little bit more. Like, it should have stuck with the way it was going. And I noticed movies tend to do, which movies do that? And it's funny, this was not, found footage movies tend to have that, where they like tease you and tease you and tease you, and then that last act, it becomes this like frenetic craziness that tries to show you everything you were waiting for the whole movie in one shot. And maybe it works for that formula. But if you look, I mean, obviously the Blair Witch, the first one, didn't show you anything.
Right.
And so, and that proves that can work. I think it's just, obviously, as found footage developed, they wanted to show you a little more. They wanted to get more creative. They wanted to show you what they could do. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I know, granted, this is not found footage, but it's good to that point of where you can keep the same pacing throughout the whole movie and the same style and not change it too much, and it still would work. But yeah, like you're right. I guess it was a bold choice for them. I mean, you know what? The filmmaker had his vision. Can't argue with it, really. I mean, so
yeah. I mean, I guess I applaud that vision. I applaud, just like in The Witch, I applaud doing something a little bold, saying I'm not going to be afraid to deliberately slowly pace this movie to wring out as much suspense as possible. I'm not going to try to shortcut it, right? So I did appreciate that aspect of it. There's not much more to talk about without going into spoilers. And
right, this is one of those ones. It's tough. It's tough to really go into too much because you don't want to spoil it for someone who hasn't seen it, because you want them to go in the same way you did.
Right.
So
it was kind of a weird choice for us for this first film, but the reason I wanted to choose it is because not only because it fits the requirements of the topic we're doing this month, but because it was one of my favorites from last year, and I thought it would be neat to kind of do more of a modern one before we go into some of the ones that we might consider classics later on in the month. So it's kind of an oddball choice, granted, but I was really curious to see what Brian would think of this film. That's partially why I chose it as well. So go see it if you haven't seen it yet. Like Brian said, be prepared. It is a little slow-paced. Drink some coffee.
Go in fresh.
You'll be okay. I'm curious to see what you think. Give us some feedback. Like, hit us back on Twitter or Facebook and let us know what you thought of this movie.
Yeah, we were going to try and have the director on, actually, but we decided to leave him alone. Boom!
Boom! You guys snuck it
back.
in.
Yeah, snuck that in. It is, of course, the director's name by Liam Gavin.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know that, you probably didn't get that joke, and you thought I was just being stupid again. But.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being stupid, I've been drinking drinking beer here, but we've got a great beer pairing for this one. I was wondering what you'd come up with for this one, Brian.
Yeah, this one was a little bit trickier because I kind of wanted to get something that, obviously with this film, it's there's a couple of themes running through it that that not necessarily you really would name a beer after, but this was one of the closer ones I found. The beer is called, obviously one of the main characters that Steve Oram plays. He's an occultist. So I found a beer called The Occult. It's from Odyssey Brew Company from I'm gonna butcher this, Herefordshire, United
Shire.
Kingdom. Herefordshire. Yeah, I probably butchered this. I don't know. Matt, if you're listening, Matt from Yorkshire, please correct me and tell me how to say this. But anyway, it's from the UK, and it's a Black Cascadian Dark IPA. So I didn't really get a good full description like I usually did, because I think this is a seasonal release. I do know it's still available, though, because I did see someone on Beer Advocate just recently claimed to have it. So they got it from the store. So yeah. So that's one for today. I mean, I really couldn't. It really wasn't a movie. I looked actually a Dark Song beer, but there was not. That's always why I start.
Well,
You want the inner workings of my beer pairings. I could not find that, but I knew it was going to have to be dark somewhere in the description of this to tie it in.
Well, The Occult is the official beer of satanic rituals.
There you go. So we got
that's good. So our 6 degrees of decapitation. Last week, we had a double challenge to connect the Blob 1988 to the Blob 1958. We gave you 2 different actors.
Yes.
The first one was actress Shawnee Smith, and we asked you to connect her all the way back to the Blob 1958. Obviously, there's several ways to do this, but we'll give you Brian's take on it. So, Shawnee Smith was in Saw with Carrie Ellis. Carrie Ellis was on Seinfeld with Jason Alexander. Jason Alexander was in Dunstan Checks In with Faye Dunaway. I'm sure you guys love that one. Faye Dunaway was in The Towering Inferno with Steve McQueen, and of course Steve McQueen was in The Blob 1958.
Now there are shorter ways to do this, as we've fact checked.
Yeah.
But I tend to I kind of like to do sometimes I actually kind of like to do the longer ways. It's more fun to see how this goes in, and it's funny because both these. The next one too, they pass through the same
so this one's
thing
funny.
at one point.
So we asked you to also connect Jack Nance. Well, Jack Nance...
You know why, though? I had to pick him because there's a fish in the percolator.
Oh, God. He's
Sorry,
back.
I just love
He's
saying
back.
it. I love saying it.
Well,
I can't help it.
He started Twin Peaks with Grace Zabriskie. Grace Zabriskie was on Seinfeld with Jason Alexander, who was in Dunstan Checks In with Faye Dunaway, who was in The Towering Inferno with Steve McQueen, who was in The Blob in 1958. So
you gotta love it. There's literally 2 separate connections that take you to each Blob movie that pass through Seinfeld and Dunstan Checks In.
That's pretty funny. So
yeah.
So
that's why
you'll have to explain this one, Brian, because I was unsure of where you got the latter part of this one. So explain this one to us. This week's decapitation.
Yeah. Now this may be a little bit of a personal opinion, but anyway. So I had never seen Catherine Walker before, even though I know she's been in stuff, obviously, because she would never make it if this was the only movie she was in. She would not be a subject of this this week's 6 degrees of decapitation, but. There was a couple of sequences where she had to me at least, a resemblance to Sarah Wayne Callies from obviously The Walking Dead, Prison Break, a bunch of other stuff.
And My Local Pizza Parlor.
And yes, and Tim's local pizza.
We have a
parlor,
waitress that looks just like her.
Yeah, which you need to now grab a picture of and send it, and like get them both.
Because I'm
you have
totally
to
not going to be.
You know, you have the in.
I'm totally not going to be creepy. A guy in his 40s going in a restaurant and taking pictures of a 20-year-old waitress. Not creepy at all.
No, but in fairness, Olivia made you go in to see.
That's true.
Her, to see how it looks you like. So you actually have a legit reason. You can say, "Hey, look, I host a horror podcast. Sarah Wayne Callies was mentioned. You look just like her, so therefore I need to take your picture."
Excuse me, ma'am. Would you pardon me? My wife would like me to take a picture of you.
Yeah, I mean, say, listen. You be on a show that had the likes of Richard Dreyfuss, Jack Nance, and then just say impersonators under your breath.
My
so
wife and I like
way
to take
she'd feel
pictures
like,
of young women.
Yes.
Would you care to
Please hold the pizza in the forefront so it's not creepy.
Jeez. Anyway.
Yeah. That could only go so many wrong ways for you, Tim. But if you can, I guess.
Hopefully
it might be.
She doesn't watch
funny.
The Walking Dead. I do know that much. So hopefully she doesn't listen to this
she
podcast.
doesn't?
No, she doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Odds are probably not. I would say probably not. But that could get us a listener or a lawsuit. So one of the two. Right? We guess try. But anyway. I thought she did a couple of sequences. There was like especially when she had distressed face. I don't know. She just kind of reminded me.
Distressed face.
Well, no, that's not. Like when she, because Sarah Wayne Callies. Think about it, she's in Prison Break. She had a lot of drama to her, and Walking Dead. I haven't. Obviously, I know I don't watch, but I've seen clips. And
I think that's my permanent
upset.
Default state.
Distressed
face.
Distressed face. Tim and the distressed face. But yeah. But anyway, so that's why I'm like, you know what? She kind of looks like her a little bit to me. So, I'm like, man, that'd be a little weird. Because I was, what am I going to put it to? Like, I was thinking maybe Dark Song to Dark Water, and like that movie, but then I'm like, well, those don't really have anything to do with each other either. So I decided to try and just go on a whim. See, that's the whole fun about this, right? It doesn't have to really make super amount of sense. Because
like
you're getting weird connections. Exactly. So this fits in perfectly. This could be more Civil Gore worthy then. So that's the chance. And I got it in 3. So I'll see if you guys can beat that. It's Catherine Walker to Sarah Wayne Callies.
Which is proof you can literally connect any two people at
right,
random.
You really can. You really, really can. Oh, by the way, it was funny. I was re-listening to my to one of our episodes where we first brought this up, and we were joking on how we might have any kind of like limited fringe or 6 degrees, because Kevin, you said, had 2, like a legitimate 2 count,
right?
2, I think. And I realized where I may somehow get in, and I have to look at it to see how I can connect it. But I forgot Steve Cohen as well. We are both credited in the original Paranormal Activity, based on that promotion that they had where you'd sign the petition to have it in your town first. But anyone that signed this petition literally got their name in the credits with there's like a million things. You see it go speeding up. You literally have to
that's
frame it by frame it. But that means technically I'm not on IMDb, but my name is technically in those credits.
You technically have a film
credit.
I
do have a film credit. And so does Steve Cohen. So we're in that thing. So I have to just now
Steve
find
Cohen
someone.
Was on a game show. He legit TV. He should be able to get a credit.
He should be. Yeah. Oh boy. And that. Yeah. I wish somehow we need to like add that clip, and we have to see if that game show has any rights, because I don't know if it ever. Like, I know it appears in the game show every so often. I wonder if we get in trouble if we just aired clips on our site of Steve Cohen failing miserably. Well, actually, it wasn't so much him. It was one of his teammates. Although Steve missed a couple that we were hoping he'd get, but he did okay. It was mostly his partner.
Yeah.
Dragged.
Sorry, Steve, but Brian made me watch you fail on a game show while I was at his house.
So. That was kind of funny. Right? Remember that? I just totally found the disc of like Steve Cohen on the thing. But I'm gonna look that up to see how I can connect somehow from my Paranormal Activity credit to Kevin Bacon. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Sure, there's got to be a way.
All right, so next week we're going to continue our Irish horror series, and Ken texted me with a bunch of great suggestions for Irish horror, but we're kind of going off the rails here. We're trying to think outside the shamrock or whatever.
I like that. I see what you did.
But anyway, we're trying to think outside the box and do some like kind of crazy, lesser known films and stuff. So we decided the one we talked about last week, The Lodgers, which is actually out on limited theatrical release and for like video on demand. So I think we're going to do that one for next week. And that one we're both going in cold. We have no idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it could be total crap. Who knows? We don't know. But it's if it's the genre, if it's the theme, so we're going to go for it. And now our big announcement.
Yes.
This is where we need your help if you're still listening.
Yes, if you're still here and you didn't walk off at pun number
After
one.
this train wreck.
Yes.
So the 50th episode is coming up, and we would like you to send in MP3s. If you want to be on the show, send in what you like about Civil Gore, what you don't like about Civil Gore. Send us hate mail, send us love letters, whatever you want to send. Just send us an audio file, and we will air it on the show.
Yes, and Ken and Cody, we expect ones from you, for sure.
Anybody who's listening, send it to civilgorepodcast@gmail.com. Just make it an MP3 file, and we're going to have a big 50th episode show, and we'll play all of our MP3s that we get, and maybe have a few guest stars and special surprises. So
yes, we definitely we're still in the works with it, but we should be fun. And should we reveal the movie yet or wait?
I think we wait one more week.
Okay, we'll wait one more week. Yeah, get everyone because maybe what we could do is we'll announce it a week early, so then maybe everyone can if they, even though I'm sure if you have not seen this yet, you're probably not listening to this horror podcast. But if even if you haven't seen it in a while, you may want to watch it again before we go through it.
And we'll need to get those MP3s in by noon on March 12th, Monday, March 12th.
Yeah. Yeah, so that way Tim is not pulling out his hair and you know how he says he's always in a distressed face look?
Yeah.
We don't want him in a double distressed face
right.
look when he's like trying to scramble and add these in at the last minute.
Yeah.
Because Tim does a fine job with all these editing.
I try.
He is truly the master of editing.
When I'm not naming episodes the wrong number or double posting or whatever. So yeah, I try. So anyway, we'll wrap it up. This is kind of a shorter episode. You guys are like, thank God, finally.
I know.
Got it under an hour and a half. But we'll see you back here next week for more fun and excitement.
And remember, listen to the episode because it's starting to congeal!